Hello everybody, this is TechNolli. And today we've got a channel subscribers, motherboard, processor, hard drive, and graphics card. Yeah, so Tom sent me a request and he said, hey, I want to get this thing up and running. And I said, no problem. Send me in the board, processor and stuff. We'll get it up and running. And right now, I'm not charging anybody to do this. You just pay your shipping. And I get you up and running, ship it back to you, and we are done. So here we go. He's got an XFX RX 580 8GB graphics card here. Nice card. And look at this motherboard. Oh my. Gigabyte x570i Pro Wi-Fi. This is a beautiful, beautiful board, guys. Let me tell you. Look at this. We'll do a flyover here. We've got a Ryzen 5 3600 in this puppy dog. It runs really, really nice. He put a 2 terabyte hard drive in here, NVMe. So he's good to go. So there we go. It's a nice build. And guess what? We did this with Opencore 0.5.7, the new version. So he's good to go. So what do you say we get started on this one? Let's go. Okay guys, let's get started with this Opencore 0.5.7. So, we've already made our vanilla USB bootloader, which is right here. Now we need to create our EFI partition on this USB so we can boot up this computer. So, to do that, we're going to use a new tool called Mount EFI, new to you guys because I've always used Clover before, but I think a lot of you guys may be getting confused using Clover with Opencore, and so we're going to use this Mount EFI. So just go in here and we're going to right click on Mount EFI command and open it. Alright, and right here we can see our install macOS Catalina, which is our USB. So we're going to select number 1, hit enter, put in your password, and there's my EFI partition of the USB. So we're good to go now. It might even be easier than Clover, isn't it? Alright guys, so let's quit out of here. So we're done with that for now. Now we need to start building our EFI folder. So to do that, we're going to start with Opencore. This is the newest version, the 5.7. And we're going to grab the EFI folder right here, and let's just drag it into the EFI partition of the USB. Then double click on EFI and OC, and we're going to grab one more doc we need. We need this sample plist. We'll just put it into here. Alright, so that's all we need for right now. So let's double click on tools and let's get rid of all of this stuff. We don't need to see it in our boot menu, so we'll just put it in the trash. And then we want to go to drivers, double click on that, and let's get rid of everything except this file called Open Runtime. Now this used to be called FW Runtime Services, but now it is named Open Runtime. So let's get rid of everything else because we don't have a legacy computer right here. This is a newer computer, so it only needs that one file until we get to some others. Okay. Now, while we're in here, let's rename sample plist to config. Okay, so config and then .plist. All right, there we go. Now, we've got our EFI folder pretty much in a naked state. So we've got nothing under ACPI. We've got only the one file for drivers. We have no Kexts at all yet. And we've got Opencore.efi and tools is empty. So this is a nice clean folder. Okay, now in the description below on my website, there are going to be files that you're going to need for this computer and for other computers. Let me show you. Now, also on my website, you're going to have one file that's going to have all of these files in it. Okay? Because we're going to need some additional drivers. We're going to need Kexts, which are kind of like drivers for hardware. And we're going to need just one ACPI out of here, right here, this NVMe, this SSDT NVMe, that is going to fix our hard drives looking like external hard drives. Okay? So let's start out here and let's go with the ACPI. Now we're going to build our SSDTs for this. I'm going to show you how to do that on the Opencore website. But for right now, I'm going to grab this one and put it in here for you guys. Okay? That was one that was built by a gentleman on Insanely Mac, and I got that from him. Very nice gentleman. I forget his name. Okay, now we're going to need a couple of more drivers. So right now we have Open Runtime, so I'm going to need this VBox, and I'm going to need this APFS driver loader. Okay? Alright, now let's go back over to our Kexts. Now, like I said before, Kexts are kind of like drivers. Like Apple ALC, that's audio. This small tree is for the particular Ethernet controller that is on this motherboard. So really, all of the other Kexts, whatever green, Virtual SMC, and Lilu, we always need these. Okay? So those are just always over here. Most of the time, our newer motherboards, this Apple ALC, will get us up and running. The only thing that we run into occasionally is our Ethernet controller driver. And for Intels, there's two different ones. There's the small tree Intel, and then there's another one called Intel Mousy. This particular one is the small tree to support the Intel Ethernet on this newer Gigabyte motherboard. For this one, we're going to need this. Now, if you're not sure which driver you need for your Ethernet controller, then you could send us an email or something. We're not going to charge you anything to tell you what Ethernet controller you need. But if you Google it, you can find it too. So there we go. Now, let's take a look here. So we got our drivers. Just 3 of them is all we need. We got our Kexts. Everything good there for this motherboard. And everything else is there. Now, let's go ahead and go over to the Opencore website. Let's just go to Google, type in Opencore, and we want to go to Opencore Vanilla Guide. Okay, now we're doing a Ryzen, so we're going to go down here to the AMD config plist, and we're going to click on Zen, which is for our Ryzen. Okay, so we've already done all of this stuff. So let's go ahead and move on down to the ACPI. All right. Now we need to compile one SSDT here for this. And also in that packet of files, we're going to have this Mac IASL program to compile this particular SSD. So just double click on that and you can see it's going to say it cannot be opened because it's unidentified. So to get around that, guys, just right click and click open and then open again. And there it is. So let's go ahead and go to File, New. We'll go ahead and close this one now. And we'll go over here and we'll click on this SSDT. And what we want is we want to select RAW. And then let's just grab all and copy and put it right into here. Okay, and then go File, save as, and we're going to save it to the same name as right here. So we'll call it SSDT-EC-USBX. Okay? Now I'm going to save it to the desktop. And we have to make sure the file format is changed to ACPI machine language. Okay? So click on there, and that will save it as an AML file. And here it is. All right? So let's close this out. And now we have our one SSDT. Now let's grab this other one. Now this one is just a simple download. So we'll just download it. Go to our downloads, open it up, and drag it out to the desktop. Okay, you with me so far? All right, let's move on here. Now, let's move my EFI over here. Now we're back into our EFI on the USB stick, our EFI folder, Opencore ACPI, and we need both of these files, these AML files, put into this folder. We are done with that for now. Okay guys, so let's grab Property, and again, the first time you open this, you have to right click and open, and then open. Okay, let me minimize this. All right, so what we need to do now, let me get all this set up here for you, is go up here to File, Open, and then we want to look for our EFI folder, and there it is, EFI, OC, and we want to click on config.plist and open it up. All right, we're going to be doing a little bit of work here. First of all, we can get rid of these warning lines. We're okay. So we can just get rid of those. And there we go. Okay, now go up here to File, OC Snapshot, and then make sure you're on OC here, and then click Choose. Now what that did was just injected all of these SSDs, our KEXT, and our drivers into our config.plist. Now let's check and make sure that our SSDTs right here under ACPI are turned on or true. You see this one right here? It's set to false. So we want to double click and set it to true. Okay, this one is true and this one is true. So we're good to go. Let's go back over to Opencore's website. We're done with this section, so we can move on. So we were under ACPI. Let me put this over here. And now we want to go down. Here's block. We want to go down to Quirk. All right, right here, Quirks. And we just want to verify. No equals false. Yes equals true. So we're just verifying that all of these are set to no, and they are. So let's go to Booter, which is right here. Now there was a change in 0.5.7, so pay attention, don't just skip this. Let's go down to Quirks, and we want to verify that all of these are set perfectly in here. So the first one is set to yes, and then we have no, no, no's until we get to enable safe mode slide. Right here, it is set to true. The next one is true, so we're good. Let's go all the way down until we get to provide custom slide. Provide custom slide is right here, and it's true. The next one, rebuild Apple memory map, right here, it needs to be set to true for our particular motherboard. Let's go down here to sync runtime permissions. Right here, it needs to be true, and that's a new line in our new version of Opencore. All right, devices, we're okay. Let's move on down here to kernel, and everything here should be fine. because we injected it. But now we get to a kernel patch that we need to put in. So right here, we're under kernel. So what I want you to do, guys, is go down here to patch right here and just click next to it, right click, and remove patch and children. Then go back up to kernel and highlight it. Okay? Now, we'll go to Spotlight and type in text edit, bring up a text box, and we're going to make sure we change the format to make plain text. Okay? Then we'll click on our web page here where the patch is, and right here we want to make sure we click raw, because we don't want any extra HTML or anything like that added to our text. So we're just going to select all and copy and go over to here, and we're going to paste it into here. All right, let's get rid of this. All right, now we can go to File, Save, and what we want to do, guys, we want to make sure that we uncheck this box, okay? Because we're going to save it as patches.plist, and we're going to save it to the desktop. All right, so we can close that out. Now let's go back to our config.plist, go up here to File, because we need to open this patches up with our property. Click Open, go to our desktop, click on Patches plist, click Open. Now, right here, we want to click right next to Patch, and right click, and we're going to copy. Then we'll go back over to our config.plist where we had kernel. We're going to right click and paste. Alright, so that is all done. We can close out of this and we can move on from this step. Okay, so now we're going to Quirks, which is right here, and we want to verify all this information is correct over here. So we're going to look under here. There's no's until we get to dummy power management. Dummy power management needs to be true. Okay, then we got no, and then panic no text dump. That needs to be true. And then power timeout needs to be true. And this port limit needs to be true. Okay, now we're coming down to, we can just keep scrolling until you see miscellaneous. There it is. All right, so here's where we are now. Everything here is fine, so we can move on until we get to right here, disable watchdog. Right here, disable watchdog and Apple debug. These both need to be set to true. Okay, then we're going to go here to target, which is right here. We got to change that to 67. And then we want to put this display level number in over here instead of what's there now. Just paste it in. All right. Now we're going to go down to security right here, and we're just going to verify that everything is correct. And as you can see, we need to make changes. Allow NVRAM reset needs to be true. Allow set default needs to be true. Okay, then we have no or false, 6, that's cool. Let's come down here to vault. This needs to be optional. And then right above it, scan policy needs to be 0. Okay. We're getting toward the end of it, guys. Hang in there. We're getting there now. Let's go down to NVRAM. We have some changes here we need to make. Everything is fine until we get to Bootargs. Okay, right here. So we need to add a few. So we'll hit we always want a space between each one of these arguments. So I'm going to grab this debug. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it right here. And put a space in there. I need this, just to be safe, this NPCI. And we're going to paste it there. And then I need this ALCID equals 1, and that's for audio. And we will paste it into there. Now, I skipped one on purpose right here. This AGDP MOD needs to be in our boot arguments if you're using a 5000 series RX graphics card. So if you're using a 5500 RX Radeon or a 5700, you want to put in this argument in here. This gentleman right here is using a Radeon RX 580, so we don't need to put it in, so I'm not going to put it in. But if you guys are using a 5000 series card, you definitely want to put that in. Alright, we're done with that. So let's move on down. Let's move down here to our language. Okay, so we want to go right here. Preferred language, right now it's set to Russian. Right here is English. And if you have a different language, you can click right here on this link and it'll show you what text you need to put right here. Alright, I just set it to English. Okay, so let's move on down. Until we get to write flash, right here. This needs to be set to true. And then we're at platform info. Platform info is where we tell our PC hardware what kind of Mac we are emulating. So the best use right here is to put in iMac Pro 1,1. I've had really good success with that. Okay. Now, this is your serial numbers, your board number, and your UUID number. I always like to change that after the whole build is successful. Okay, so we'll do that later. Alright, so let's move on down. All of this is just explaining to us what's going on and talking to you about fixing iServices. And so this is a good area of information if you guys want to read about that. So let's move on down here until we get to automatic is set to true. Generic, we need to make sure spoof vendor is set to true. And then everything else on this, guys, is fine. So you don't need to worry about it. UEFI right here. All of this is fine. We just want to go down to the bottom where we have our Quirks, which is down here. And I think we just have one to change for this board. Okay, request boot bar. Request boot bar, yes, needs to be set to true. Request boot bar routing needs to be true, which it is, and no to the next one. We are done, guys. Go up to File and Save. Because if you don't do that, then none of your changes will take effect. Alright, let's see if this thing's going to boot. This wonderful Gigabyte x570i Pro Wi-Fi. Just like all of our other builds, guys, we're going to hit the delete key to get into the BIOS. And the first thing I want you to do is go into advanced mode, and on this one right here, it tells us to go press F2, or you can use your mouse. And then I want you to go clear over here to save and exit, and I want you to load the optimized defaults. Okay, just load them up. Alright, now let's go over to settings, and we're going to check under each one of these screens, and I want you guys to make sure yours is set up identical to mine, okay? So let's go here, and everything is fine by default. I/O ports, yes, we are using a PCIe graphics card, so that's correct. All of this is fine. And above 4G decoding is disabled, and that's what we want for this one. Our LAN controller is on. Our audio is on. Let's go to USB. Everything enabled except for port 6064. NVMe configuration, we don't need to worry about it. It's in there, and we're fine with that. SATA configuration, AHCI. We're not using a RAID, so everything's fine in here. Network stack disabled, and our Gigabyte network connection is fine the way it is. Now, let's go over here to favorites. Don't forget this one. This is where CSM support is, and we want to make sure this is disabled, okay? Okay, so we're done with that. Let's go over here to boot, and we're just going to make sure everything looks fine here. See, CSM support is disabled, and secure boot is disabled. Okay, now we're going to save and exit, and it will reboot a couple times before it gets to the boot menu. And on this board, we press the F12 key to get to the boot menu. If you have nothing on your hard drive now, it's a brand new drive, you don't need to worry about going to the boot menu. But I've already got the OS on here, so I'm going to press the F12 key because I want to boot from the USB. Okay, so right here is my SanDisk, and I'm going to select it, USB, and we're going to choose the install macOS Catalina external. That is my USB. Hit enter, and here she goes. We'll go through a bunch of text again, guys. It will come up and we'll be ready to format our hard drive. Now guys, this thing will get stuck on a couple lines pretty good, but it goes past them, so don't be too concerned. I would say maybe 15 seconds on one line. So we're coming up here to format our hard drive. Okay, so we want to choose Disk Utility and click Continue. We definitely want to click this little arrow right here and make sure we show all devices. Watch what happens. See what we have here? Now watch. Ooh, there's my hard drive. So Tom here put in a 2 terabyte NVMe drive. Pretty sweet, huh? Alright guys, we're going to erase it, and I'm going to call it macOS internal. Okay? I definitely want to change the format to APFS, and we're going to leave it GUID partition map. Click erase. Alright, then all we do is go out of here, click Install macOS, Continue, Continue, Agree and Agree, choose that wonderful hard drive, and click Install. This will get to about 2 minutes remaining, and it's going to reboot on its own. Very typical Catalina install, so no surprises here. Alright guys, so it says about 3 minutes remaining, so it's going to get here to about 2 minutes remaining, and it's going to reboot. And when that happens, we want to leave the USB stick in the computer. There it goes. So we'll come up again. We don't need to press anything. We'll just let it come up to its boot menu, and we're going to choose the hard drive. Okay, so as you can see, it comes up default to macOS installer which is the hard drive. So we'll just hit enter on that one. And what we're doing now is we're continuing the installation. It reboots twice. So this is going to go through again, and it's going to come up and it's going to continue the install. Alright, so as you can see, we're going to come up to the Apple logo, and this will go completely across the screen, and it takes about 10 or 11, 12 minutes, and it will reboot on its own again when it gets to the end. And we're going to come up again with the USB still installed and finish up. So let's see what happens when it gets toward the end here. Okay guys, about a minute remaining. Alright, there it goes. We'll leave our memory stick in there. Come up and boot from it one more time, but we're going to choose the hard drive. Alright, notice now it has the name of the hard drive, what we named it. So I'm going to choose the hard drive, and let's get in here and finish this install. There we go, and there goes the GPU fans. It always does that. GPU fans spin up real loud on the first real boot. Okay, so we're just going to choose our country. Same old, just like if it was a real Macintosh. And we'll just skip all of that. I do have my Ethernet cable plugged in, but I'm certainly not going to try to sign into the Apple ID right now because it would fail. We're going to set up later and skip, agree, and agree. And I'm going to name it and put in a password. Alright, there we go. Continue. And I'm going to set this up to enable location services, but I'm going to turn off analytics. Screen time, set it up later. Siri, sure, we'll leave Siri on, but we're not going to talk to it right now. And we'll keep it on dark mode. And let's see what it looks like. Does everything work? That's what we need to know. Let's tell it what kind of keyboard we have. Done. Transparent bar. That's a good one. Let's go up here to About This Mac. Alright, there's our processor, our 32 gigs. This is a Ryzen, by the way. It's not an Intel. And this is a Radeon RX 580. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, now what do we have left to do? We have to take our EFI folder off our hidden EFI partition on our USB and put it on this hard drive. So we're going to need that mount EFI file again to do that. Okay, let me grab that. Okay, I got my USB stick here with a bunch of files on it that I need. And let's see, where is that little file? There it is. Mount EFI. Now I'm going to double click here, but you're going to see what happens. It won't open. So I got to right click and open, and then open. Okay, so what I'm looking for is my USB first. So this is my install macOS Catalina. So I'm going to press 1, enter, put in my password, and there is my EFI partition on my USB. Now I need to open the one up on the hard drive, and it is macOS internal, so that's number 4. Let's click in here again, 4, enter, and now I can go over here to computer, and there it is. Notice there's nothing inside. So I'm going to grab my EFI folder from my USB and stick it right in the hard drive. Alright guys, that's it. That is all it took. Now, so while I'm at it, I'm going to change the serial numbers here for Tom on this computer. So I'm going to go ahead and run Gen SM BIOS right here. And then what we want to do is hit number 1. And that will install. And then number 2. And now it wants to know where the config.plist is. So we'll go over here. There's my EFI. There's my folder. There's OC. And here is my config. So we'll just drag and drop it here. And then we can hit enter. And then number 3. Enter. And right here is where we got to tell it what kind of computer it is. Remember, we called it an iMac Pro 1,1. And just hit enter. And now it put in new serial numbers for this computer. Let's check it. Let's make sure. So I'm going to grab property because I want to open up the config.plist and make sure that everything got changed. Minimize, 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 right here. Okay, so I want to go down here. Right here is our MLB, our board number. So it got changed. There's our product name, remember? Our serial number and our UUID. So he's ready to go. When he gets this computer back, he is ready to fire it up, put it in his case, and start working. So guys, there you go. If you would like me to put together either build you a Hackintosh or get you up and running, like Tom did here, he just sent me his motherboard and his graphics card and his hard drive. So if you want me to do this for you, just please send me an email and we'll get started. All right? Thanks so much. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.